Typically, our pre-ops go into three things I do. First is a general walk around just to catch anything visual. I kind of call it the big picture. Next is my compartments, because that's where I'm actually getting, checking the oil, checking the fluids, opening compartments, things like that. And then my third and final would be in the operator's seat, is checking inside the cab. So those are kind of the three things that we do. There is no right or wrong to this, and we welcome your guys' comments. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Alex, and let's do a walk around here.
Alrighty, so first we're gonna start off with just your general walk around. We're gonna kind of, check out your undercarriage and kind of some of your features, your boom and arm and bucket and whatnot. So we're gonna kind of go take a look, and we'll start with the tracks. First thing I kind of look for is, is there any obvious damage? Is there anything completely missing? Is one of these track pads completely missing, or, bent or broken or what have you? And then another thing you can look for is to kind of get down, and if you look underneath at your track, you see this kind of this little buckle right here, and this isn't too bad, but there are some, where it's pretty sharp, and that's a sign that maybe you should have someone come out and measure your undercarriage, or see if, you need to possibly send it in some downtime to get it replaced. Another thing to look for is like any missing steps, which could be a safety hazard getting in and out. You don't want to fall and bust your head open when you're getting in and out. So that's mostly it for the tracks. And then I guess another thing to check for is, your sprockets right here, and, just make sure that they're there. There's no teeth missing. If they're super sharp, that's another sign you might want to consider getting them replaced, or, have someone come out and replace it for you. And then from there, we can kind of go around to the back, and, you take a look underneath here and see, you got any dented panels that would, hinder performance or operation, any big leaks anywhere, or anything just super obvious that doesn't seem right, or, you didn't notice the day before. Same thing with this side set of tracks, check for any big buckles in it, or if, your sprocket's broken or anything like that. Same thing as the other side, just kind of a general overview, nothing too crazy. Another thing I forgot to mention about the other side is, check your track tension. Make sure it's not slopping all over the place, and, it's not too tight and not too loose. There is, certain specifications that, it will tell you in your operator's manual how tight it's supposed to be. And, if you're not sure, you can call your dealer, and they should be able to help you figure out, how tight it's supposed to be, and certain ways to measure it, because it will vary from machine to machine. So when we get up here, I kind of take a look at the, the whole machine, take a look at your cylinders, make sure they're not leaking. A good way to tell if they're leaking is if you look right up around the cylinder right here. If you see a bunch of dirt or any hydraulic oil kind of leaking down or collecting up there, it's probably a good sign that it's leaking. Maybe you want to get it replaced, or have someone come out and look at it. And then, just move on down and make sure, again, nothing on your buckets missing, broken, anything kind of like that. And then for the bucket itself, come and look at the teeth. Make sure none of your teeth are broken off, or there's any big chunks. Another good thing to look for is something like this right here, where you kind of got a hole in your tooth right here. That's getting pretty low there, and you might want to consider replacing all your teeth, or at least maybe rotating one of them out, and extending the life of your teeth a little bit longer. And then from there, kind of move on back towards the cab and go up to your boom cylinders right here. Again, make sure there's no hydraulic oil or dirt collecting. Usually it'll be right up around in this area. You'll kind of see like it's dripping down or trickling down. So to get up in here, just step on up and whatnot. Take it open and come on up in here, and you got your washer fluid tank in here. Make sure that's full if it's going to be rainy, snowy, whatever, muddy probably. And from there, next step is to come on up here, and you're going to start checking your oils and fluid levels. Good place to start is right here with your swing. Take your dipstick out and check that it's full. If it's not, add the correct amount of oil to it. And then you're going to want to come over here to your engine compartment. Gonna unlatch it, pull it up, make sure it locks in place so it doesn't crush you. And then, just kind of do a general overview, make sure, nothing's broken, missing, or out of the ordinary. And then you got your oil dipstick right here, so you go ahead, pull it out, and check your oil. Another good thing to do is to check your radiator cap and make sure that, you know, take it off and that you got coolant in your radiator. And that's pretty much for it for up here. There's not a whole lot to do. So we're gonna go over here to the first side compartment, and in here you're gonna have, you know, fuel filters, oil filter, your hydraulic pump. And another big thing to look for is, you know, make sure your filters aren't leaking or there's, you know, dented or cracked or what have you. Also with your fuel filter here, make sure that there's no ice or water in the bottom of here. And if there is, just simply drain it off and get that water out of there, because obviously, you know, these don't run on water. And then, you know, just kind of give a look over in here, make sure none of these hydraulic hoses are leaking or anything's out of the ordinary, you know, broken wires or cut hydraulic hoses, and that's pretty much it. Now we're over by our air filter and radiator and air cooler. You know, go ahead and obviously make sure none of these fins are dented on your condenser here for your air conditioning, or your air to air cooler isn't dented or cracked or anything like that. You know, batteries, they're not much to them, you know, just make sure they're there, I guess. You got your coolant reservoir, make sure that that's to the full mark. You know, if it's low, add the correct coolant and the correct quantity to it. And then your air filter, you don't really have to take it out if you don't want to, but you can, you know, clean it out, blow it out from the inside out with an air gun. Make sure there's no debris, you know, leaves or sticks or anything on your intake to your air filter, and if there is, obviously clean them off. And yeah, and then we're gonna move on over to the cab. So the first thing you want to look for, or at least what I look for, is, you know, make sure that there's no debris or anything that's gonna, you know, block any type of function or anything like that. You know, make sure you got a clean cab, so everything, you can hop up in the seat and, you know, you can make sure all your functions are working, your levers move freely, nothing's stuck or feels, you know, sticky or anything like that. And same thing with your foot controls. You know, make sure you got your seat belt here, make sure your seat belt latches and is good. You know, you always got to wear your seat belt. You know, if you want, you can turn the key on and, you know, check if your radio is working, and, you know, see if you have any codes on your monitor or what that's saying to you, because that's another big thing to look for. And I think that pretty much wraps up checking over an excavator.